All right, everybody, let me know if you can hear me. And if you can hear me, we're going to go into our countdown. So just looking. Waiting. Hi, Tracy, Klaus. Hi, everyone. No email today. Email just went out. Okapest. Loud and clear. Thank you, Tracy, for that. Go ahead. All right, let's go, guys. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Live from Lockdown, episode number 86. Wow, 86. Woo, these numbers just keep going up. All right, so good to see you all this week. Really excited for what we have this week. It's going to be something completely different and something vaguely familiar, but it's going to have some good interaction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share Photoshop tips with you. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I've been writing the Photoshop tips column for this magazine. Some of you might have heard of it, Photoshop User Magazine. In fact, I probably have a better one I could show you over there somewhere. Yeah, Photoshop User Magazine. Some of you are aware of it. I've been writing the tips column there for, I don't know, 14, 15 years, 16 years. I think outside of the senior editor, managing editor, Chris Main, I'm probably the longest running author there. So I've written the tips in every single episode of Photoshop User Magazine since, I don't know, a long time ago. So I've learned a lot of tips. Now, what we're going to do today is something completely different. I'm going to let you guys name the tool or name the filter, whatever it is, and we're going to see if I can come up with a tip or two on each one of these. So you could try and stump me, which is, let's say, okay, the first 3 people who can stump me are going to win a photoshopCAFE course. How's that? All right. So now so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tip. I want you guys to drop a topic in there, and then I'm just going to go into the chat and I'm going to pick the next topic, and chances are I probably will be stumped because I don't pretend to know everything. I certainly don't. So this is going to have 2 things. Number one, it's just going to be a lot of fun, and who doesn't like fun? And number 2, I think we're going to learn a lot because I guarantee there's going to be at least one tip in here that you're not going to know, possibly more. And I don't know about you, but when I learn a new tip or something that saves me time or shows me a more efficient way of doing something, or it's just like that aha moment, it does 2 things to me. Number one, it makes me want to hit myself for like doing something the slow and long way for so long. But number 2, it also makes me rejoice, and it makes me very happy because it means in the future, something that was painful is less painful. Now, I'm not saying Photoshop is painful, but some tasks in Photoshop, repetitive tasks, boring tasks, are certainly painful. I like to create. I like to make art. I don't like to spend a lot of time tutuing around in the interface. Now, Stuart Braithwaite, if you're here, you know what tutu means. Put that into the chat there, and I'm going to have a look and see who we've got here. Good to see you guys. All right, so looks like everybody's here. Yes, the email went out a little bit late. I apologize for that, but it's gone out. And I see we've got a lot of our regs in the house. I'm just going to scroll back. There's Tony Mule and Bruce Bicknell. So Bruce Bicknell's in the house. Now, if you guys don't know Bruce Bicknell, he lives in Tampa Bay, Florida, or Tampa, Florida. Is there a difference, Bruce? I don't know. I think maybe there is. But he lives in Tampa, Florida. And I'll give you his address and phone number if you have any Photoshop problems, or, you need someone to come and clean out your garage. Bruce is that guy that's just willing to help everybody, absolutely free. And he'll come over, he'll clean up your garage for you, make you some drinks. None of that's going to happen. But what he will do is he will post some links in here and help keep things in order here inside the chat pod here. So thank you, Bruce, for that. We really appreciate you. All right, so Tracy's in the house. Good to see you. Robin's in the house. Philip Gregg's in the house. Robin, all regulars here. Bertsy, Bertsy Ann, good morning from, is that Australia? I don't know if you knew, Bertsy. If you are, let us know. David Taylor, good to see you. If you're not, by the way, Bertsy, I apologize. If you are new, welcome. And if you are new here, don't be ashamed. Just jump into the chat and say hello to everybody. It's a very, very friendly group. The cafe has always been the most friendly place on the internet for 21 years now, believe it or not. The cafe is now old enough to drink. We used to drink coffee and tea. Now we're allowed something a little bit stronger. So, yay. All right. So I'm just going to scroll all the way down here. And there's Paul Johnson. Kia ora, another Kiwi in the house. Good to see you there. So you know what tutu means. Klaus, good to see you. Okapes, good to see you. All regulars. Ain't cleaning nothing, says Bruce, except for maybe some guitars. He's probably, well, I don't know if he even cleans his guitars. So anyway, Stuart, there he is, laughing at Bruce. All right. So this is where we're going to start, guys. So we're going to start with some tips. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the top left tool on the toolbar, which is the move tool. And while I'm doing this, why don't you guys drop some tools, topics in there, and then we'll see where we go. All right, so the move tool. Everyone is familiar with the move tool. Well, if you're not, it's pretty much the default tool inside of Photoshop. So the move tool, as we know, we can click and drag to move things around. Now, if you want to select another layer, like say this background, there's two ways we can do it. We can right click, and this is why you would want to name your layers perhaps, because it might help you. So we don't know what that one is. I do know because it says layer 6, so I can grab there and I can drag that around. Now there's another way we can do it. If you hold down the control or the command key, you'll notice these smart guides appear, so I can click and now that will select the area that I want to use. There's another option. If we turn on auto select layer, now this is going to work like Illustrator. All I need to do is just click on something. As I click it, it becomes active and we can move it around. Now that's not always the nicest way to work, but if you turn on show transform controls, it will actually show you what layers selected, and all you got to do is just click on it now and you can resize it and just click away to apply it or hit the enter key. And, you know, as you can see, we can do all that kind of stuff. All right, let me escape out of there, and I'm going to undo that. Now, I don't like to turn auto select layer on because I like to control click and select. Now, if you're going to be transforming it like scaling or sizing it, turn transform controls on, otherwise turn them off. Now, there's another way that this works, and this is with layer groups. So say I've got a group here where we've got all the, am I not sharing my screen? Okay, I see Bruce is calling me. I'm not sharing my screen. I apologize, guys. Got it, Bruce. Thank you. Thank you for buzzing me. All right, so that was fun, right? Okay, so let's go back and do all those tips again. So, sorry, guys. Bruce needs a buzzer to show the screen. Yeah, he does. He needs a buzzer that electrocutes me as well. Yes, of course, we're going to be starting over. All right, so there we go. Okay, back to the move tool. So the move tool, as I said before, the move tool is the default tool that you start with in Photoshop. When something is selected in the layers panel, you know this already, we can click and we can drag to move it. This is also where we would hit Control T or Command T for free transform. You know, if we want to scale things, rotate them, all those kind of fun things. Now, if you want to select another layer, right now this textures layer is selected. And if we want to hit the box underneath, right click, and you can see the names of the layers. And as I said before, this is why you would want to name your layers, which I'm not doing a very good job of here because I create these banners for the live streams, like literally scrambling to get them done. But if you look in the layers panel, we can see that blue box is layer 6. So I can choose layer 6 from here, and lo and behold, that layer is going to be selected. Now, if you want to select them manually without having to do that, just hit the Control or Command key. As you roll over a layer, notice the pink Smart Guide appears around it. Just click, and that will make it active, and we can move it around, reposition. Now, if you want to transform, turn on the Show Transform controls from the top here, and notice the transform handles will appear. So that means when we select that layer, of course it doesn't want to unselect the other layer anymore. When we select that layer, let me turn the caps lock off. What it will do is it will give us these, and now we can rotate, we can scale, we can do all these different things. And to change another layer, control click on the layer. And so say you wanted to do that, we could rotate, just giving me a little warning here. And we can do that, control click, selects a new layer, control click, selects a new layer, and you've got those bounding boxes. Now there's another way to do it. If you want to work like, say you're in Illustrator, turn on auto select from the top, make sure a layer is on. And all we need to do now is we can just select these layers, and they're just going to show up like they would on Illustrator. All we're doing is just simply clicking, click away, click. See that? We can just click to select, to move any layer we want. We just simply click on it. So if you're doing a lot of transformation work, maybe you got to rotate or move a lot of things at once, it can be a really good idea to turn that on. The rest of the time, I like to turn it off. Now, there's another way of working with this, and that is with groups. So say, for example, I was to put all of this stuff, select it all, hit Control G, and that will create a group for all my overlays. And I'll call it overlays. Now, and we'll put this one in group 2, and we'll call it backgrounds. And of course, I could go in and drag all these backgrounds. These are from previous ones. I reuse things. Now, auto select layer is turned on. That means when I select in here, I can click and I will select any of these. Now, if I change this to auto select group, that means if I control click or use auto select, however you want to do it, on any of the layers inside the overlays group, that entire group now is going to be selected and move at once. So if I want to work on the background, I select the background. If I want to work on the overlays, I select the overlays. So this is good when you've grouped things and you want to move things together. However, once you've done that and you want to move the individual elements, you can't move them individually. Make sure auto select is selected on layer. And even though they're in groups, now we can choose layer and move the individual layers again. All right, so while I'm doing this, a couple more tips, but guys, throw out another topic that you would want me to hit next. Now, let me show you some other things about selecting that a lot of people are not aware of. Auto select is off, show transform controls is off. All right, so I can control click, and now these layers are just working by themselves. See that? Working by itself. Control command click, select there. Okay, we've got one. Now, if I want to select multiple layers, we know we can control click inside the layers panel and select multiple layers. We knew that already. But there's another way we can do this, and notice we've just got one layer selected, is if you control and then drag. Let's zoom out. And so I'm going to control drag in all the layers. Notice in the layers panel, as I control and drag, different layers get selected. All the layers I go over now are going to be selected at once. See that? So if I just select these, notice those are selected. So you can select multiple layers by control marquee dragging around. Now, there's another interesting thing here too, is if you want to zoom in on something, still using this move tool, like say this logo, if you double click it, of course it's a smart object. Hang on, let's, oh, that was nice. It quit. Let's not do that because it's a smart object. Smart object is going to work just a little bit differently. Let me go down to the layers and let's look at this one here. Yeah, now it's launching that. That's not what we want. All right, that's fine. I'm going to close out Illustrator right now. If you're working with a smart object, by the way, and it comes from Illustrator, double click it and it will open its source inside of Illustrator. Same with, something like here, this is a smart object. If I double click the smart object, it will take me into the image. All right, so we did another one on smart objects before. All right, that's fine. Let's see what you guys have got for me. Let's have a look. What tips do we have some topics here? Let me tear off the chat. And I'm just going to pop out the chat. And here we are. Tracy had to go. See you, Tracy. All right, what do we got here? Let's go here. Could you start again? Okay, history brush tool. All right, so Chris Bacon, the first one we see there is history brush. All right, so what can we do with the history brush? History brush is interesting. Okay, let me show you something here. So if we open up this image, say this one, and what I want to do is I want to paint this whole thing. I want to convert the whole thing to black and white. Command-Shift-U will do that. Not the best way to do it, but it doesn't matter. And let's open up the history panel. And here we are with the history panel. Now, the nice thing about working with the history brush is, there's the history brush, is we select the layer that we want to work from. And if we do that, we can paint back the color on that layer. Or let's just do a select subject to kind of help me. And we could kind of paint around with that. All right, so that's kind of how that works, right? So let me just undo this. So maybe there's some other things we want to do with this, like we have a certain state we want to work on. I don't know, let's give it a color. Let's Control U, and that brings up hue saturation. Of course, I'm working destructively here, which of course we never would do. But okay, so say we do this, we apply a color, and we've got this color here. Now, I know I'm going to continue moving, but I might want to use this again. So what I'm going to do is create what's known as a snapshot. Now, that means that I can paint wherever I want now. So if I choose my selection tool here and I want to go back to desaturate, I can. And let me just make this thing superbly huge. So I'm just going to make this one massive. All right, so there we go. I'm just painting with that. And if I wanted to paint something from the original now, I just go here, which, hang on, let's go back to where we are. This is our live area. This is the area we're painting from. So this well here is where we're painting from. So let's grab the brush, make it a little smaller here. And so I'm using the left bracket key to make the brush smaller. And I'm painting in here and say I want to do that. But now I want it to work from, say, the snapshot, from another snapshot. I can select that snapshot, and now I can paint with that. So I can start to paint the different states as snapshots, and then they're going to be like super, super useful for that. Now, there's another thing about here. Like, say I create, I don't know, let's make a selection around here. Select subject, and Control J will copy that to a new layer. And I'm working on this as a new layer now. So I've got a multi-layered document. And if I want to make a duplicate of this document with all the layers and say I've got adjustments, let's put some adjustments in here. Let's do a color balance just to have something. All right, so we've got adjustment layers, everything like that. I want to make a duplicate of this because maybe I want to branch off and try something different. Then what I'm going to do is grab this little plus button, and it creates a new document from the current state. And if you look at this document here is identical to the other document. And so I can continue to branch off of an experiment. And by the way, this just literally is just going to give it a name. You can see the name is like literally from whatever layer was selected at the time. And you know, that's our history. That's the name. And so you can do that, and then you can branch off and try experiments in different ways using those. So that's a cool tool that we would, we like to use. All right. Okay. So Colin, hello, listen to us. I am Robin. Okay. So this is back when I didn't show the screen. Colin needs a drink. I always need a drink. All right. So let's keep going. Sorry you're late. Don't worry about it, John. We're doing tips. Throw tips at me, guys. Show me an idea. Working with calculation. You know what? My buddy Jesus Ramirez, John just did a tutorial on calculations. Check it out. Really good. He used it for making selections, and I could cheat, like, as far as having a tip. Like, let me show you. I might as well cheat. I got one mulligan. Okay, so calculations is edit, something I don't really use at all, which is why I knew that was coming. Where is it? I don't even know where it is. Image calculations. I believe it's under image, isn't it? There it is. Okay, so we go in here in calculations, and then we can have multiple sources, right? So we could work on different layers, like maybe layer 1 and the layer here, like the background layer. So we've got the background layer and the layer 1. And what I want to do is I want to put these together and use a blending mode. So what I could do here is go down these blending modes. Look at this. Let's go to overlay blending mode. And opacity 100, yeah, that's good. And we could put the result into a new channel, new document, or a selection. Let's just do it there. And you have the ability, by the way, to invert these. But if I click OK, what did I do there? I got rid of a lot of the background. See how that background edge was kind of there? I got rid of that edge by using calculations. Now, I do recommend you go check out that tutorial from Jesus. I haven't even watched it yet, but he's quite proud of it, so I imagine it's pretty good. All right, so let's move on. Funny how much it helps when I share the screen. It really does. Although you would never know. You can't get entertainment like this on Disney. That's true, right? You definitely cannot get entertainment like this on Disneyland. Maybe something on the equalize command in the image menu. Oh, David Holstock, you're asking me a tough one here. Image menu. I have used equalize. I'm going to have to put my mind around this one because it's actually been a while since I've used equalize. Is it under an adjustment? Where is this thing? Under the image menu? Maybe somewhere else. Edit file menu? Edit menu? Where is the equalize there? Looking for it. I'll tell you what, I'll let you drop that into the chat there, and because I'm like not even finding it right now. Probably staring right at it. That I forget, where is this one? I have not used in a long time. It's been forever since I've used that. All right, so tell me where that is, and then we'll have a look. But you might have won the first prize there, David Holstock. All right, let's keep going down here. What have we got here? Great tip, underused groups. How do I make an image traceable? Okay, Rael, good question. Here's an interesting way to trace an image. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but let me find something that's gonna, maybe this one here. And this is actually kind of interesting how this one works. So you can trace the image, of course, you know, doing the outlines, find edges, or just bring it into Illustrator. Illustrator is probably the best way to trace it. But if you want to turn this, you can actually turn this into a vector, which is really interesting in the libraries panel. So when we are in the libraries panel, you hit this little option here and we choose to extract from image. Now we get into this interesting little window here. And let's get out of there, skip the tour, we don't need the tour, and we choose shapes. Now when we do the shapes here, notice we can literally trace our image here. We can invert it if you want to get it going the other way. And we can trace this outline. And if it gets a little messy, grab the little eraser here and you can erase. It's a little funky. It's not like super responsive, but you can do that. And smooth on save. Of course, we're going to smooth on save. And you can increase the amount, decrease the amount of detail as you saw there, and then save this to a CC library. So I don't know if you guys knew this. Let me know if you guys knew you could do this or not while we're doing this. And if this is new to you, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Helps us with the YouTube algorithm. All right, so I'm going to create a new layer here and just fill it with white. And let's grab this shape, and we can drop that shape on here. And we can like create these shapes, and of course, if we want to put color on it, we can colorize these. Let's just use a color adjustment layer. Let me drag this up. So let's just use a solid color, and I don't know, let's choose blue. I like blue. And I can just click in this way. What I did is I just clipped that to there. Option click, and now I can clip that to the visible areas. That's one way of doing it. Of course, the other way, I could have just thrown it into color blend mode. Yeah, color blend mode doesn't work as well as clipping it. So yeah, let's just clip it. Alt or Option. Now we can clip in here. Now the interesting thing about this is now that we've created this vector, it's transparent underneath. And let me show you that. I'm just going to reset my workspace because I just get messy. And let's reset my workspace. And just to show you, I'm going to drop a gradient underneath. So let's go under the gradients panel. And let's grab, I don't know, let's find some nice, what do we got here? Purples. These will work. So I'm just going to drag that onto that layer. And we can see underneath now, we can put those colors there. Now, if I wanted to make the gradient the color, I could do that as well. See how I'm putting the gradient in there? So there's different ways. Now, here's the thing. Because this is a vector, remember I told you it was a vector? That means I can go into my direct selection tool and I can select things in here. And make sure I'm on the proper layer. It only works when you're in the proper layer. I might have to go into the smart object. What am I doing here? Okay. I thought I could select these tools and drag on it. Now, if I rasterize it, it's not going to work. Okay, so I can do that, but somehow I am not doing it right. Maybe if I double click on the shape or something, it seems like the shape's not selecting. Hang on a sec. What's going on here? All right, well, trust me, this is a vector, and for some reason I am not able to draw. I don't know why I'm not able to draw on this to select it. Maybe I have to bring it into Illustrator to do that. That's probably my guess. So if I would launch Illustrator and probably have to paste it in. Let's have a look. Why does Photoshop, someone's asking a question there. Sorry, let's just go here, new file. And the question is, why does Photoshop, there's a little arrow there, flatten an image after you crop it, even though it's just one layer? That shouldn't necessarily have to do that. It depends on your settings. Okay, let's just go into here. I'm in Illustrator. There I am. I've got this warning thing. And of course, my screen resolution, as you can see, is way smaller than what I normally use. And this is for the live stream. Normally in real life, I am running at 4K resolution. And it makes it really weird when I'm working at low resolution trying to create things. Okay, so I'm going to create a new document, which is somewhere. And I'm going to go in here. Let me see if I can make it smaller. Let me grab the corner here. I don't want to waste a lot of time on this. And honestly, I will also tell you, I am not a Illustrator guru illustrator. I use it for like logos and stuff. How many of you use Illustrator and are like, would consider yourselves like super proficient in Illustrator? And okay, so if I take this and I drag this into Illustrator, this might not even work, but let's have a look. Got that layer. Let's do the move tool. Select that layer, drag it into Illustrator, and yep, there we go. So here we are in Illustrator. And there is our object. I can double click on it, and we should be able to go into our tools in here. And no, it's coming in as a TIFF, so anyway. But that's how you can trace it. So I guess my little thing there where I was trying to go down the rabbit hole in Illustrator didn't work well. I'm not proficient enough in Illustrator. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Drawing tips. Okay, so what would you think about drawing tips, Lalish? You're asking what type of drawing, and then we can see what we can do here. So Tracy's coming back in 5 minutes. Norway here. Good to see you, Norway. Okay, so we crop an image. Okay, so let's look at this, Kathy. So you're saying that when you crop an image, it flattens. There could be certain reasons for that. But generally speaking, its default, it's not going to do that. Now, maybe you have delete crop pixels turned on, and there's other options that we have under here too, by the way. Because like once you crop a image, notice the layers are still intact. So it could be that you're deleting crop pixels, or certain conditions are happening where it's happening, but by default it should not do that. By default you should not have your image flattened when you crop. All right, what do we got here? Never used Illustrator. Good, I'm not the only one. What do you think of NFTs? Love them, Kathy. I think they're the future of what we're doing here. I'm thinking, I don't know what you guys think here. Just I'm going to have a look here because we're talking about NFTs. I'm not going to go into a whole NFT thing here, but it is not necessarily what people think, because when you watch the news, and let me go on camera. I'm risking going on camera. Bruce, call me immediately if I don't show the screen. We're doing something else. Super quick on NFTs. We see all the news headlines, the sensation. It's just like drones, just like everything else. The news sensationalizes it and focuses on an area that's not necessarily really what it is. So, for example, it makes it look like this gold rush, and I see these headlines. Broke couple, had zero in their bank account. Now they have $3 million. Or people, $69 million from Christie's selling, the NFT. But that's not really what we're thinking. NFTs are non-fungible tokens, Georgia. I don't want to get into too much, but they're essentially a digital token. But what they are is more than that, and the way I look at them, and if you guys want me to do a whole tutorial or whatever on NFTs at some time, let me know. But what they are is they're a way to prove ownership, and also they're a way, and this is where it's the future of us, because you can do a smart contract. So I've been thinking about creating my own NFTs, but not like, hey guys, here's my NFT, buy it for, half an Ethereum, and then you're going to flip it for 10 Ethereum, which does happen. There's things like, look at the Bored Apes or the Mutant Apes, and I actually happen to own a Mutant Ape, and it'd be embarrassing if I told you how much I paid for it, for a JPEG, but I've more than doubled my money on it. But that's not what I want to, that's not what I'm using NFTs for. So say, for example, people have been hitting me up when I post pictures. People want prints, and people say, hey, I would really love prints, of your pictures. So an NFT doesn't have to be some JPEG. It's a smart contract, and it can be attached to a lot of different things. Anything digital, like training, the courses I do could be sold as NFTs. It's just a way of purchasing them and proving ownership. Kings of Leon dropped an album as an NFT. So for an example, like say I would want to do my images, because people hit me up. Hey, how do I get a print of that? Well, what if I said, hey, I could go out and I could go to Bayphoto or wherever, make a print, mark it up, sell it to you, and that's fine, especially, if I do a limited edition. And then you get the print, you hang it on your wall, and you have that. There's nothing wrong with that. I buy prints, and that's how we sell art today. Nothing wrong with that. But what if I was to do a smart contract, whereas rather than me printing it, I sell you the NFT? So, for the same price you would pay for the print, I'm like, here's a full-size JPEG, go print it yourself. So then you can print it on your own printer. You can go to the printer and have it printed. And say I was to say, okay, so here's the thing. As long as you own this NFT, which is just a license, you can print as many as you want. Now, you can't sell them, but you could print them, a large one, you could print a small one, put them in different rooms, whatever you want. But here's the thing, when you're finished, you could turn around and sell that NFT to somebody else. So literally you could be renting the right to print one of my photos. So you bought an NFT for say $300. You print it, you turn around, you sell it for $300. Guess what? You got a print, and it costs you nothing more than the cost of, printing, and you go to do it yourself. And now the next person has that. That's so much better than just saying, hey, I'm going to dump, here's a full-size JPEG. Everyone download this JPEG and print it. That's nice, but I can't make a living that way. But if you pay $300 and you buy the NFT, you print it, you get the print, I get the $300. And when I say me, I'm talking about you, like any artist, right? And then the thing is, when you go ahead and then you resell that NFT, you can set it up where you get a percentage, a royalty. So maybe every time that NFT changes hands, I get 10%. So initially I get $300, first person that buys it and prints it. If they sell my NFT for $300, then I get 10%. I get another $30. Another person gets to print it. I get $30. So I'm getting something. So it's not like, someone is just doing that. So I think it's a good deal for everybody. And NFT is basically, yes, it is a license. Now, there are things about these NFTs that they do tend to go up in value. So they can be an investment. So I'm an NFT artist, but I'm also a collector. I buy NFTs and I collect them. So the thing is, some of these can go up in value. If you have an artist that, say for example, you buy a Van Gogh, you can buy that as an investment and you can resell it. Now, you should not be buying NFTs on speculation. That's not the angle I'm going to be going for. But so that's just kind of like, the copyright belongs to the artist. I still own the copyright. If you buy a print from me, like say I decide, hey, I'm doing prints, and then I send you a print, and you pay $300 for that print, or whatever it is. It could be a nice big acrylic, which costs $1,000 to get printed. So it could be $1,500. Who knows? But you buy that. You don't own it. You own the print, but the artist maintains ownership. So it's no different really than how it is now, but it's in a digital way. So I actually think it has a lot of value for us in the future. So some of us digital artists, a lot of us, we've never really been able to sell our images or control the copyrights. That will enable us to do that in the future. So there's definitely something there. And this is something I've been thinking a lot about. I'll stop talking about it now because I know it's not for everybody. But if that's something you guys are interested in, as I say, I'll do a tutorial on that later. And, and maybe, are you guys interested, like, in my art? Would you be interested if I created a set of images that you guys could buy, print yourself, and then keep the NFT or resell it, whatever you want to do with it? Is that something you might be interested in it? And the reason I throw that out is there because I get a lot of people want prints. Every time I share a nice picture on Facebook or wherever it is, I get a lot of people contact me, hey, can I buy the print? I gotta be honest, I have a printer and I don't want to spend all day printing and shipping prints. It's not something I really want to do. I'd love you guys to have my prints, but I don't want to be sitting there printing, and I haven't found a print house that produces the kind of quality I would like at the prices I would like with the service I would like at this point. So the other thing is you can do a print that comes with an NFT. So an NFT can be attached to a physical product. All it is a certificate of authenticity, oversimplification. All right, so go back to Photoshop, guys, but thank you for that question. Hopefully that was interesting because I just hear people, talking about NFTs, and I don't know if people are talking from the angle that I'm giving, because I'm looking at what could this be practical for us, not for speculators or people trying to make millions of dollars really quick, but just for artists and photographers. And I think that is the future of how it goes. All right, so let's go on. What are the steps on how to match colors? Carol, thank you for that. Let's have a look. And I see that some of you are interested in that. So yeah, maybe I'll do a simple tutorial on it, just not necessarily a live stream. Maybe we can do an NFT live stream at some point, but I'll do a tutorial, just a basic what is an NFT, and maybe a couple of ones like that. Just simple, very easy to follow, practical ones. Smash the like button, submit, yes, do that. As Bruce said. All right, so match colors. What are the steps to match color? Okay, so there's a couple of ways. Now, I don't know if you guys saw my tutorial that I posted this week on YouTube, but let me show you something here quickly. So if we click here, photoshopCAFE, don't do it now. Do it after the stream. And you can see there's our stream, but I did this one. Hidden settings and match color. So I discovered in the new tool inside of Photoshop. And I actually did a written tutorial on this. Let me show you, because this is actually... Check out this tutorial for sure, but let me also show you just something really quick. So harmonization, it's an AI-powered filter. So we can use match color to match the colors when we're creating composites. This is a tutorial on photoshopCAFE. I don't know if you guys knew, but every Tuesday I drop a tutorial. Every Wednesday the written steps go live. All right, so this is what I did as an experiment. I created a gradient, and you know what? I'll just do it live. I'll show you right now. Why not? So I'm going to create it. And this is really interesting when it comes to matching colors. So when you're doing composites, you want to match the colors. Okay, so we got a background. Let's just do this super fast. We've got a background. We've got a dog. Let's drag the dog onto the background. And so this kind of thing you would do in compositing, right? So I'm just going to do a quick screen. Is the screen on? Yes, the screen is on. All right, so okay, good. Bruce doesn't have to come and attack me. So we've got that on. We got this select subject, and I'm going to select the subject on this dog, right? So I'm just going to create the mask. Now, it's not a perfect mask. It's not supposed to be. But my point is this giant dog's cute, actually. Very cute giant dog. Actually, give me ideas for a composite. So here's the thing that could actually probably be his tongue that's creating the waterfall. Now, obviously, the dog is too warm, and it's not matching the background, right? So there's two ways we could match the colors. There's the new way with the neural filter, which I'll show you now. When you would go under the filter, and we're going to go to the neural filter. So this is an AI-powered tool. Turn on harmonization. Harmonization is going to ask me for background. So it's going to say, okay, it's going to use artificial intelligence to match the colors and tones of the background. And it does a pretty good job. Now, usually I find I need to bring the strength down just a little bit. Not always, but sometimes I do. And to be honest, keeping that strength up high actually blends it in better with the background. But sometimes I want to pop, because if you're putting a subject against a background, normally you're looking for some kind of lighting to pop it to make it look good. And so sometimes I'll do that. I'll increase the brightness and saturation. But the fact is, you have the ability to make these changes, and we can click OK, and it'll output it to a new layer. So if we look at before and after, that's certainly a lot better. Now, the other way to do this is the old school way, which is the image adjustments. And we can go to match color. This is how we used to do it before. Let me make sure everything is on there. Image adjustments, match color. I have no idea. Why is that grayed out right now? It should not be. Maybe it's a smart object. That's a bug. It should not be grayed out. Let me just hit the escape key in case there's a selection. Image adjustments. Yeah. Image mode. Let's make sure we're in the right image mode. We're in RGB mode, 8 bits per channel. Okay, so for some reason, this is not doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this layer, and I'm going to rasterize it, and this should force it to work. So rasterize layer, image adjustments, and there we go. There's match color. So match color is another way of doing this. This is the older way of doing it. So in match color, we would take the layer. So we're on this layer, and we want it to match the background. So what you got to do for the source is you got to choose, and notice the name of the document, Niagara. Now, one of the things I like about match color is the fact that any open document can be used in any layer within any document, any open document. So we're in this one, and I want to choose a layer. The layer we're going to use is background. So we're going to go down here. We're going to choose background. And now this is going to apply the color. Now notice that the color's matching the water really nicely, but it's not necessarily matching the tones on the rocks. So this is the disadvantage of this, is it just takes an average. What it does is it takes the image, it looks at the average tone, and then just does an overlay of that average color. Now the nice thing about that is we can fade it. So we can go in here and we can say, hey, that was a little much. Let's bring it down. And the luminance is a little, let's change the luminosity of this a little bit, make it a little darker, and the color intensity, which is just a saturation. We can tweak that. So we can go in here and say, well, that's not enough. We need a little bit more. And so you can go in here and we can do this using match color. Okay. Now the neural filter I think works better. Check out that tutorial that I wanted to show you, because here's something really interesting. I'm not going to go into the, my tutorial. I show you how to use this practically, but let me just show you something that you might not be aware of. I was not aware of this. And recently I was talking with Adobe and the engineers, actually the AI team, and they told me this and I had no idea. So let me create a gradient. So we got a gradient that goes across here, okay? Purple, and we've got orange. So now I'm going to create a new layer on top, and I'm going to make this really big, and I'm going to fill it with gray. So let's just choose a 50% gray. All right, so we want to match the color of this to here. Now, let me go into here. If you choose image adjustments and we equalize, actually here's where we're using the equalize here. You can see the different colors, but what I actually don't want is the image adjustments. I guess I found his equalize. We're looking for a average. It's in here somewhere. Image adjustments, where is it? Match color, desaturate, filter. I just haven't used some of these in so long. Actually under blur, filter blur average. This will show me the average color. So you would expect that this is the color that the gray would turn to, because that's the average color, right? So let's have a look at this. So we're turning on the gray with that on the left-hand side. Watch what happens when I apply this neural filter. So we're going under the filters, neural filter. And under this neural filter, we want to turn on our harmonization, which is the tool that works better. For background, we're going to choose background. Now watch what happens. Interesting. Okay, so we get a grayish tone. All right, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with this. We're just going to say this is what we got. Okay, no problem. So we got that tone. All right, now let me take this and I'm going to drag this to the other side. And let's go in here. We're going to choose the filter. We're going to go into the neural filters again. And we're going to choose harmonization, select a layer, and there's our layer there. And now we get a completely different color. Okay, so we got this color, which is, it's not really gray, it's more of a blue. And then we've got this color here, which is more of a red. So now here's the interesting thing. When I turn this layer on, what it's doing is it's hiding this color underneath there, and it's using this color to make the calculation. When we go here, it goes the opposite. So what that means is the position that you put your subject over the background when you run this is going to produce a different result. Let me demonstrate. So let's go here. And we've got our dog here. Let's go into our, turn off that one there. There we go. So we've got our dog. Watch this. So if we go into the filter, and then we go under our neural filters and we go to harmonization, select the background layer, you're going to see a lot of blue influence on this. All right, so there's our background. Click OK. I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to do the default that comes out. All right, so what it did is it created a new layer. Now let's take this layer and let's link it and move it. So now we're going up and we're covering more of that blue. Watch what happens when I choose the filter and we go to the neural filters, and then we turn on harmonization, select the layer, same background layer, apply. Look at this. It's a different result. Look at these two. They look similar, but they're not. See that? We got a different result. So here's the thing. When you're using that neural filter, don't position your piece and then just run the filter and say, okay, that's what we got. Think about, like, if there's a certain color that's overbearing. And the example that I showed on the tutorial here demonstrates it very, very well. Whereas I'm taking this model, putting it there, running that filter, we get that result. Then I put it on the other side to cover the red, allow more of the ambient to go through, get a completely different result, put this result side by side, and then I take the white balance and I prove that the other one is actually more accurate. So check that out if it's something you guys are interested in. So even though it's a neural filter and it uses AI to make that calculation, you have control over the result by moving or repositioning your object before you go in there. So I don't know if you guys knew that, but it really is a game changer understanding that. All right. Colin, have you noticed that when you're bringing in your photos, there is a cloud in the corner? Susan, when I'm bringing in my photos, there's a... Yes, of course. And I'll tell you why that is. And that's really simple, is let me create a new, just for fun. Let me show you this, because it's a library linked smart object. So if I create an element, let's do this element here, and I'm gonna convert this to a, let's just do it like that, okay? So I've got this color, and then I decide I want to make a object out of it. Let me go to a different library. I'll just create a new library. We'll call it test. Okay, so we got a new library, and I drop this in here, right? And so we've got that layer. If I bring it in here and I drop it on here, what it's telling me is it's a library linked smart object, which means I can bring it into another photo too. Let's bring that in. And it looks different because it's underneath those color layers. It's still the same. Why don't we bring it to another one, just for grins and giggles? Drop that in there. Okay, so we've got this library linked smart object. Now, the thing is, if I double click on a smart object, I can go in and I can update it. So if I hit save, notice it updates every single document that has that. Because what it did is it updated the document or the smart object inside the library. So that means that every object or every image that contains that is going to be updated. So this is great for things like logos, when you update logos and things like that, and if I want to go back in, put it back how it was, Command I, save, notice it updates in there, and as it updates in there, it also updates in all the documents. So it's great, things like logos. I don't know how many times I've had to change a TM for a circle R or different things like that. So you could update logos or contact information. It's useful, when you're designing things, you can put placeholder in there and put the finals in later. Now, if you're working in here and you want to update this and you don't want the main object to be updated, you can right click and you have the ability here to, see, we have the ability here to do different things. We're going to, I believe it's just convert to a regular smart object. I believe, so we have the ability to, so we can just convert that to a regular smart object. And no, it's still, I believe there's a way to unlink it. Is it control click on it or something? There's a way that you can unlink it from that smart object, from being a library linked smart object. Let me go into here. I'm trying to remember how to do this. I know that, is it just under the smart object settings? Let's have a look here. Right click. And not to rasterize. We don't want to rasterize it. Reveal in library. Update all. Edit contents. So I might have to, I might have to in this case, I thought you could just right click though. I'm sure there's a way. If you guys know, drop it into the comment. I'm sure there's a way to just convert it. But the other thing is, maybe it's option. I'm trying to remember. There's a modifier or something. Yeah, I haven't done that in a while. But here's the thing. If you drag this out and you hold down the, have they changed this? Let's go into another document. So if I want to add this into another document, and I believe I can hold down a modifier key. Is it the Alt or the Option key? Yeah. There we go. So if I drag this out, holding down the Alt or the Option key, see how it just creates a regular layer, and now it's not that library link smart object anymore. So that's essentially how that works. But I guess what I would do here is you could duplicate it if you were going to change it, drag it in, and then you change it, and then your original's still intact. So that's another way that you could do it without ruining your original. So yeah, see that? See how I changed it because I duplicated it? All right, so let's have a look. We don't want to get stuck on that for too long. But that's why anyway. So it is a library link smart object. Oh, it makes you struggle to find things just like I do. You just do it file less often. Well, these are areas, Fred, I just haven't done much lately. And that's the thing about Photoshop is it's just, there's so many things inside of Photoshop that you can just, you know, if you don't work in a particular area for a while, you can forget it. Right click new smart object via copy. Yeah, well, that'll duplicate that smart object and make a Stuart. Yes, that will create an independent version of the smart object. But there was a way that you can convert a smart object from a regular smart object to a library linked, and for some reason I'm forgetting it, or they've changed it. And sometimes this happens to me too. Is like a feature just gets removed. For example, when you created an adjustment layer, you used to be able to go into the adjustment and change the type of adjustment on there, which you can't do anymore. So yeah, sometimes things change. All right, so what have we got next, guys? Let's go down here and see if we've got some more. We'll just place a blurred background on top of the dog and making the blending. I believe that Mahidi is talking about the matching colors. Yeah, so when you use the AI filter, what it does is it actually uses artificial intelligence. It looks at the image and it sees there's a bunch of green grass, but it might see a purple sky, and it knows, hey, the sky is actually what should be affecting the color more than just a reflection from the grass. So it will change the weighting of that. So we'll actually look at the object that you're converting, and it will look in the color, and in the colors there, it will see literally what colors are in the background, you know, that are going to be affecting the white balance, the ambient colors. So it is a little bit smarter than that. So it's not just averaging a color and dropping it on top. Because I mean, if I wanted to match the color, all I would have to do is, you know, as I showed you guys before, if you wanted to do that, you could just create a copy here, and then you choose the filter blur. And this also works, by the way, to remove a color cast. So you go in here and you create the blur, do the average blur. This gives you the color. You throw this into color blending mode. And you could do this, you know, to, and if you hit Control I, that will actually create the inverse of that color. And you could do that and adjust the opacity, you know, here to get rid of color cast. That's another way you could do it to match the colors. But the AI filter just does that a lot quicker. All right, dingbats are out for today. Good grief. Okay, there's no, we're not doing dingbats today. Okay, so that's why there's a cloud in the corner, Susan. All right. So it's a cloud-based document. All right, I will buy Bruce a drink. Okay, so we're moving down here. Like to stick to color bounce. That's fine. Let's have a look. What do we got here? Your vector was a library document which explains why you couldn't edit the vector. Thank you, Stuart. Someone's on my side. All right. That makes sense too. Yeah, there's other ways we could do it, you know, as far as rasterizing, but I wanted to keep it as a smart object. We needed to tutorial how to manage libraries. Session on BlendIf. All right, so why don't we look at something with libraries and something with, oh, geez, time's almost up. Okay, let's do something really quick with BlendIf. All right, so let me find something, a photo that is here. So we drop this photo here. and I want to do something with color. I want to apply something, and I only want it to affect the shadows, and I only want it to affect the highlights. This is one way we would use blend if. So what I'm going to do is create 2 layers, and let's get these layers going here. Oh, I don't want just basic layers. I want adjustment layers. So let's do colors. So let's do a solid color. All right, so just for the sake of this, I'm going to do a blue that we're going to hit into the shadows, and we're going to create another adjustment layer, and let's do another solid color. Why not? And we'll do a orangey color that we're going to put into the highlights. All right, so we change this to color blend mode, and we change this to color blend mode. All right, so let's hide this. So right now we've got blue just hitting everywhere, right? So to get into blend if, what we're going to do is choose effects, and we're going to choose blending options. So blend if basically says, hey, if the layer underneath is dark or light, we want to apply it. So if I go this way, notice now it's not applying it to the highlight areas. It's only applying it to the shadow areas. Now, if we hold down the Alt or the Option key, this will split this, and it'll create a smoother transition. All right, so we can go here and say, you know what, I want these blues, and I just want to hit the shadows. So, and this could be, you know, what we're doing here. It could be, you know, a color. It could be sharpening. It could be anything. Doesn't matter. It could be another layer. So now we're just hitting the shadows with that blue. It's not affecting the whole thing. That's what blend if's doing. Same thing here. We can go in this layer, and we can choose blending options, and I want to do the opposite. I only want it to hit the highlight areas. Hit the Alt Option key, split that, bring it up here, and now we've got these oranges hitting the highlight area. Notice if I go here, it's going to blend across the whole thing. Now it's not in the midtones. Now it's just hitting those highlights, because nothing on the left of this is going to be included. Everything on the right and in between is where it's going to blend. So same thing here, and you'll see this little icon I'll show you. So you could double click on that icon, and if you wanted to make that blue more into the blues, it's not always responsive. See that? Not as much into the midtone. See how we're just hitting the shadows now? You can do that by just adjusting that slider, and it gives you control over the shadows and the highlights of that layer. Now this could be anything. It could be a shadow, could be an adjustment, could be all kinds of things. So that's just a little touch on blend if. It's an incredibly powerful filter, you know, for doing a lot of different things. And yeah, so that's essentially what that does. I can't believe it, guys, that we have gone through that whole hour. Hard to believe, but it has happened. So we've got much more stuff that we could do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're new here to photoshopCAFE, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications. You won't miss any of our tutorials. Every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, we do a live stream. Every Tuesday, I drop a quick, just a few minute video, which has a really great Photoshop tip, but just right to the point. So this is the opposite of Tuesdays. Tuesdays is just really, really fast, straight to the point. Thursdays, we dig a little deeper. We have a little community, and we kind of talk. Cross-processing Photo Maker says works with blend if. Sure does. Works really well. Thanks, Stuart and Linda. See you next week. Dana, good to see you again. You can also change the red, green, and blue parts of a layer with blend if. Yeah, there's lots and lots of things we can do with blend if. We could probably do a whole session on that at some point. Can you put lives as a premiere in the future? I'm not. Does that make any difference, Lalish? Let me know what difference that would make. I'd be curious. I'll definitely look into it. If it has an advantage, happy to. And I didn't even know you could do that with the live streams. Thank you, Orcapest, Raj Shelley. Thanks for joining us. Dojo, Yvonne, Rayal, all the regulars in the house. Chris, thank you. This has been one of the best. Well, thanks, Chris. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Do you guys want to do another one of these where we do an impromptu? You guys just ask me, and then we just go ahead like this. Thing about it, obviously, is I cannot prepare in advance for that, so that's why I get stumped sometimes. But maybe I'll come back with those things that I didn't. And oh, by the way, I believe that David David Holstock, I think, was it? Did you stump me with the with one of those? If it was, hit me up, send me a message on photoshopCAFE, and I'll be glad to give you your course, David Holstock, because you earned it. You stumped me with the, what was it? The image filter, image adjustments. Where was it? Image adjustments, equalize. You got me with the equalize. I'll look that up. I have used it before. It's just been so long, which I do know where it is now, PhotoMaker. At least I can find it now. I haven't used it in so long, but I'll have something for it for next week. How does that sound? All right, so thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you, Gear, Chris Bacon, David Holstock there. You're the whole session on Blender would be great. I have to figure out what I would do on that. Yeah, Gary, thank you. You got it. Lynette, good to see you. PhotoMaker, thank you for joining us. And yeah, all right, so hit me up, David Holstock. Go to photoshopcafe.com, click on support, hit me up, give you a course, pick a course, tell me what course you want, and I'll send you the download links. All right, guys, see you next week.